Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sorted Indie Retail Sessions podcast. My name's Pete Lydon. I'm a product marketing specialist here at Sorted, and I've previously owned two e-commerce businesses in the homeware and menswear space. Today, I'm really excited to listen to the story about Calla Shoes. I'm here with Jenni Bailey, the CEO of Calla Shoes. And Calla Shoes makes beautiful handmade shoes in Portugal, specifically for women who are suffering with either bunions or wide feet or extra large feet, and we'll find out more about that in a minute. So lovely to see you, Jenni. How are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you, Peter. It's Thursday, so we're nearly at the bank holiday weekend. So yeah, I'm doing all right.
Fair play, that's great. Would you be able to just tell us about your day-to-day routine at Calla Shoes and just a bit more about the story of the brand?
Okay, so the story. So I'll start with the story because the day-to-day routine can be boring. But yeah, so the story. So the story is a business has been going for a few years now, and we launched officially in September 2016. So it's nearly 6 years we've been trading now. I started the business, or I kind of came up with the idea, like the light bulb moment, about 12 years ago probably, and it was when I was looking for shoes for my wedding. I was newly engaged, and I kind of knew that because of this problem that I suffer with, which is bunions, trying to find kind of like occasion shoes, like going out shoes, is really hard. And that's because bunions kind of change the shape of your foot. So the forefoot, like the where the toes are, is wider than the heel. So obviously most shoes are kind of like either wide all the way down or narrow all the way down, or whatever. So they're not really designed for triangle shaped feet, which I guess like what a bunion kind of gives you. And also they can be quite painful, so things like seams and material, like stiff materials, like really hurt on the bunion, which is the bunion. Just to kind of explain what it is, it's kind of a deformity of the big toe at the base of the big toe joint, and it means that your big toe drifts across, so you end up with kind of like a lump at the side of your foot. So I've had this problem for most of my life, but it kind of got worse through my 20s. I never even knew I had one until it got to a point where I was like, oh, my shoes don't fit me anymore, and I can't find shoes to fit. So I could kind of survive in trainers and like Ugg boots and stuff like that. But obviously for a wedding, those aren't suitable footwear to go with like a designer wedding dress. And I knew it was going to be an issue. So I started to, I looked in the high street first of all. And at that time, there weren't actually that many brands out there that sold even wide fitting shoes, never mind shoes for bunions. And so I started my search online, trying to find a solution online. And I was kind of like going down to, like page 6 and 7 of Google, thinking maybe someone's just got like a little boutique somewhere in Tasmania or something, like they're not very good at SEO. But I couldn't find anything at that time. And it kind of created, that kind of thing in your head where you go like, why is nobody doing this? Maybe I should do this. And I think I mentioned it to my husband to be at the time, and I said, one day I'm going to make shoes for women who have feet like mine. But my background is not footwear, it's not fashion. I'd never had a business beforehand. It was just an idea, and I thought, it was something that somebody should do, and I thought maybe I'll do it one day. But it wasn't anything serious at that time. And then fast forward, get married, have babies and that kind of stuff. I had a well-paid job. I'd, recently got a promotion. I was comfortable. So starting a business, which is a big risk, because obviously you go from decent salary and holidays and all that benefits that go along with it to potentially earning no money at all. Yeah. It's like it's a big risk to take. But I was pregnant with my second daughter, and I was in a redundancy situation. What was going on in the organisation I worked for at the time, I wasn't particularly happy with either. I'd been there for quite a long time. I wasn't happy with the politics. I was in a redundancy situation, which I could have probably fought through because I was pregnant, but I didn't want to fight through. It's quite stressful. Any woman that is carrying a baby, you want it to be the least stressful time of your life, because that little thing you're growing inside you is the most important thing. So I kind of turned around to my husband and said, look, I'm going to be made redundant and take the redundancy payout and start my own business making shoes for women who have bunions. And he was just like, whatever makes you happy, Jenni, do it. So
Did you feel supported? Did you feel supported?
This is my relationship. I'm very lucky, because I know that not everybody has this, but my relationship with my husband, I'm very lucky because he's always been 100% supportive. He also knows that I'm quite bloody minded, and when I put my mind to something, I always make it happen. So I didn't pitch it to him quite as low as that. I'd started to think about it quite a lot, and I believed I'd spotted a real gap in the market, and my background is marketing. It's not like I didn't know anything about how businesses were run or how to get a product to market. I knew that. I just didn't know anything about footwear or bunions or fashion. So that was like my biggest challenge, if you like. So that's where I decided. At that point, I was like 20 weeks pregnant. I left the job. I did get another job up until like giving birth, just to kind of keep me going. But if you had your own business, the first part of going, right, I'm going to do this, is like research and figuring out how you're going to do it. I had to find out how shoes were made. I had to find a shoe designer, had to find a factory. There was lots of parts to like starting the business before I actually had shoes to sell online.
Yeah, there's a huge amount to do, isn't there, just to get to step zero, isn't there?
Yeah.
You feel like you've achieved something and you haven't achieved anything at all because you haven't even started. So yeah, no, it's something I think people should be aware of, that it's a massive challenge, literally, just to be able to open the door or open a website or anything like that before you even get going, isn't it?
Exactly. And it was 2 years actually from the moment
it's
I started.
common, isn't it?
Especially when you have your own products, it's not like I was reselling or I was buying, something and selling it on Amazon, which I think wouldn't take as long. But because it was going to be my own brand, my own website, my own product, my own designs, something that had never been done before, I knew it was going to be a journey. In my head, I thought a year, and it wasn't. It was 2 years. And that was me really, really going for it. When I talk to other people who are thinking of starting their own business and they tell me, yeah, I'll be launched in 3 months and whatever, and I'm like, I said, don't take this the wrong way, but you absolutely will not be. And it's nothing to do with you. Like, you'll be the driver, you'll do everything right. Just that you're relying on a lot of other people, and that's where things fall down. So that's one bit of advice that I give to people. Things always take a lot longer than you think they're going to.
Definitely. And one thing I was amazed online was just the scale and how large a population have issues with bunions, in terms of I've seen up to 10 million women in the UK. I mean, that's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's kind of part of the first part of that journey, getting you to zero. Like, I needed to know, like, I'm a sufferer, my mum, my mother-in-law, but like how many other people out there. So understanding the size of the market is really important, because that's my marketing background. So I went out and did a lot of research into how many women suffer, what kind of degrees did they suffer to, what kind of other products were already out there on the market, how was I going to market mine so mine were different, all of that. And it's a third of women in every Western country that's thought to suffer from bunions. So that's 10 million in the UK. So there's various sizes of bunion, and a lot of women, it won't even bother them, like it didn't for me at first. What I call my customers is really that they get to the point of desperation where they go, or all of a sudden they suddenly realize nothing fits, or they have a special occasion like I did, like their wedding or maybe their daughter's wedding or something, where they think, oh, I actually need something really pretty for this. I can't just get away with wearing granny shoes or orthopedic type shoes. I need something that really looks stylish. So we have, a lot of our customers, I've gained a lot of customers just through that particular pain point of a very specific need or occasion where they have to go out and look for, for that solution. So there's a lot of women. So last year I've been international from day one, and that's the beauty of e-commerce, because you can just open it out to the world. And because it took such a long time to get to idea stage to actually having the product in my garage ready to send out, I did spend a lot of time doing research into what customers were looking for, what styles, what colours, and built a kind of a blog website to start with myself, just knock something up on WordPress talking about my problems and my specific, the specific issues that I'd been suffering from and what my ideas were of how to solve that. And then finding these like-minded women out there by going into forums like Quora and Reddit and stuff, and finding those people and sending them to my blog, and then collecting their information, their emails from there. Because what I was saying at that point, I had nothing. I had an idea and I had like prototypes being made in the factory, but I had nothing to show them, just the idea. But people, what I found with women, were just interested enough in the idea alone, to kind of sign up to an email newsletter, because they were excited that somebody could actually, solve their problem that they'd never found a solution for before. So before I launched, I already had over 1,000 women signed up to my newsletter, even before the shoes landed. And that's another thing that I'd recommend with a product-based business is find your tribe, your audience, your customers before you've even launched. Because it's much easier than suddenly having a shed load of products and going, oh no, I need to find customers.
Yeah, definitely. That's the scariest, isn't it? When you've invested all the money, you've put everything in, and as I'm sure you found, you've got large minimums that you've got to order each shoe in, so you can't just take one or two here or one, or, you know, two or three.
No. I mean,
so,
I only got 300 pairs of shoes delivered, but that's still scary. You know, you're still out, you know, there's a decent outlay of money there. And then the spending that year or so kind of building that audience and driving traffic to the site, when I finally switched on the e-commerce side of it, from an SEO point of view, I already had kind of like garnered the trust of Google search, that people who were looking for bunion shoes were finding my site. So I literally jumped to number 1, 2 of Google for bunion shoes as soon as I turned my e-commerce site on. It was crazy, just by doing this kind of work of like direct people to my site of women who like had this same issue. So
do you feel that the niche of what you're doing helps you rank organically, i.e. that you don't have to do as much paid search as if you were a bit more generic?
Well, in the early days, I do paid search now, like 6 years on.
And how do you target your audience with paid search? Because obviously it's not as standardized as a usual, you know, fashion retailer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it's easier when you're in a niche, and also I would never recommend. There's 1 million footwear businesses out there, you know, but you've got to know what your niche is, because you're talking to your particular customers, whether that's vegan or, you know, shoes made from banana skins or whatever. You know, there is a certain demographic of people who are looking for your footwear, and you need to target them with those keywords. And that's not, you know, I'm not going after sustainable or, you know, shoes made out of alternative materials, not yet anyway. I'm going after my niche, because otherwise it's too competitive. There's no point. You know, the people that have gone up against, like the Gymsharks of the world, I mean, they're doing phenomenally well, but they understood the gap in the market between them and Nike and Adidas. They knew who their audience was and went after them really specifically to take that market share away. I mean, they're nowhere near the size of Nike, but, you know, but they're doing all right because they really understand their niche and who their customers are, you know, this whatever generation, Gen Z or whoever it is. So I understood my niche from all this research that I'd done, talking to the customers and understanding the keywords that they may be looking for. And that's what we focus on with our paid search. Because the demographic of my customers is a bit older, most of my spend has been on Facebook and Google Ads, because Facebook, you know, is for mums, which is, you know, fine, because that's what I'm going after, mums and grands, and that is the target market that I'm going after. But I'm going to be doing a rebrand next year where I'm trying to kind of widen, or like make the brand a bit younger, because I'm conscious of not being, I don't ever want to be in a position in the market where I'm with kind of like put in the same bracket as granny shoes. That's not ever what I wanted my customers to feel like. I want them to feel confident, empowered, and really beautiful and sexy, and, you know, all of those things that a shoe brand, a younger shoe brand might give to them. And I don't want them to feel like that's being taken away, because the worst thing as a middle-aged woman, or even as a 30-year-old woman, is suddenly thinking that you have to wear a granny shoe. The branding for Calla is quite important to me. So I'm trying to target a younger audience, and we've been doing that through TikTok, but that's been all organic, not paid so far. And we've had a few videos go viral, like we've had a few at 1 million views. And then we got one at 6.7 million views. And we just had one recently at about 3.7 million views it's got to. And that has helped us really. I mean, TikTok's getting a, you know, it's got older people on there, but it's a target, you know, a core between 25 and 35. So we are going after that early 30s person. Younger than that, because the product's premium and younger women aren't as bothered about comfort necessarily as much as older women are, that, you know, we are finding that we're getting a bit of a younger audience by exploring TikTok. Pinterest is big for us as well, again, because of that older demographic. So we basically touch all of them except for Twitter. We don't really do much on Twitter. So Pinterest was one of the big ways that we drove traffic to the site in the early days organically. Search engine optimization was like the key for me in the beginning, because when you first start, if you've got no budget, why not get as many, you know, acquire as many customers as you can for nothing.
Yeah.
So, and search engine optimization was, I know my background is digital marketing, but I didn't know as much about it. I just spent a lot of time reading about it and learning and finding, you know, ways to do it yourself, because, you know, it can be a self-taught thing, you know, and there's loads of people out there like Brian Dean and stuff, that like gurus that give loads of like free advice away, you know, to beginner companies like me. I pay someone else to do it for me now. But, you know, when I first started, those first customers came from just that, you know, there was nothing paid. In fact, I didn't do any paid ads until I got investment into the business recently. I was going to start a couple of years ago doing paid ads, but then COVID hit, so there's no point. So this year is the first year that we've seriously started doing like paid ads. Most of the focus is the UK, but I've just had a meeting today actually with my agency to start looking at the USA as well. I think so I touched on that we get a lot of customers from the USA. Last year, it's 50% of our revenue.
That high, brilliant.
And that was mainly through influencers and TikTok and organic. Influencer marketing works really well for us because obviously it's quite a demonstrable, is that the word? Brand, you know, a product.
Course, yeah.
So we find that like stylists and people like that on YouTube work the best for our brand because they can be shown, they can be demonstrated, they can be put with outfits. And I think that as any e-commerce brand, you've just got to kind of find the channel that works the best for you. Instagram doesn't work as well for us as YouTube does. So we've recently done a collaboration with a personal stylist on YouTube. Didn't cost us that much money, like in the grand scheme of things, because you go on TikTok and people are like, yeah, we want 10 grand for one reel or one post. No, she was like, we never pay more, or we can't afford to pay really any more than between like 500 and £1,000. But we got 72 orders from that one YouTube post.
But so it does work, it does convert. That's what I was going to ask you actually, is that you feel the views do convert into orders?
Yeah, absolutely. So that we know that works best. Finding them is hard. What we don't go after is like anybody and anybody. We want people who can genuinely talk about the brand with passion and have the right demographic of audience that will buy into and trust what they're saying. So finding them is the hard work. Like that's the hardest bit, because it's hours and hours of work just trying to find these people and then reaching out to them, and most people don't get back to you. So yeah.
So you mentioned about 50% of orders going to the US. I noticed on your website that you no longer ship to the EU because of Brexit. Is that yeah? So how are you finding that affecting business, and what could be done to get you to reopen and go back and ship to the EU?
So Brexit was a total pain in the arse for my business. I will rant to anybody about it, but that's for a podcast. About 10% of my business is going to the EU. So it wasn't huge, but it's enough. Do you know what I mean? Switch off overnight, which literally what I had to do, because anything over £135, I think it is subject to customs and duty. And most of our shoes are more than that. So, you know, we don't want to put that on our customers. So I've been trying to find a way around this for the last couple of years. And originally, so I've registered for VAT in Germany, and I've got an EORI number in Germany. And so I was thinking of having stock in Germany and distributing it within the EU from there. But I am not a massive business at the moment, and stock is precious to me. So splitting your stock and having two sets of stock is a higher risk, because then you'll have two, you know, with shoes particularly, you have a huge number of SKUs because it's per colour, per size, you know, size ranging from a 3 to a 9 in half sizes as well. And, you know, you always end up with odds and sods of sizes in various styles. And to have that split across two sites, I think that's a very big risk for my business. So that was one idea. And another idea was kind of selling through a marketplace like Zalando. And Zalando are huge across Europe as a fashion retailer and a footwear retailer.
Yeah, no,
and I have been offered a partnership with them, so I could go live with that, but it's quite expensive to do that. There's a lot of kind of technical hurdles that Zalando expect you to meet that cost thousands of pounds. And again, it would have meant holding stock in Zalando's warehouse in Germany. So I'm not dismissing that, and I'm absolutely going to start selling with Zalando at some point, either this year or next year, but starting with quite a small range and keeping it low risk. My actual solution is using a company called Global E. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, we know. Oh, yeah.
So I'm about to turn that on. So I've got two websites. A couple of years ago, I realised that the USA needed their own website, just because of the kinds of questions that we were getting asked, like how much is it to ship, you know, how much is it in dollars, even though you could change it easily. But I think that American customers want their own, they want everything to be in dollars as soon as they get on there. They want everything, you know, in a kind of an American tone of voice.
Yeah, I saw. So just for clarity for listeners, so it's a .com website, isn't it? And your other's a .co.uk, and you have things like fall instead of autumn. Everything's in dollars. Everything. Yeah, exactly.
And we saw an uplift in sales as soon as we did that. It used to be 20% of our revenue, and it moved up to half last year.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Not half this year. We've dropped down a bit again, just because last year, like I say, we had a few influencers that really ramped it up. But yeah, it's still more, just because of that dedicated website and a dedicated set of emails, everything we have for the USA audience.
Is that powered by Shopify Plus, or the multi domains, or how do you do the multi domains?
No, we've got 2 bloody websites that we have to update.
Keeping it busy.
It is a pain in the bum. It is a pain in the bum. But the inventory still only comes from one place, so that's easily done. We've got one warehouse. We don't have a warehouse in America. So the inventory is still powered through our warehouse, so we don't have to update the inventory. That's done automatically. So that's the hard bit, I think. It's just all the copy and the images and all that. That all has to be done twice, and 2 sets of emails and stuff. But, you know, it works and it's worth that effort. So that site, that .com site, is now going to be, once we switch globally on, it's going to be our international site. So at the moment, it's just USA, and the rest of the world and the UK gets sent to the .co.uk site. So we're going to divert all of our international traffic, including Europe, away from the .co.uk site to the .com. And what Globally will do is will automatically work out customs duty and everything, so that when people arrive there, they'll be able to make a decision whether they want to pay that additional money. Whereas at the moment, they get the parcel, and then they get the, you know, that dreaded like email, whatever, from DHL saying you owe us another 50% on top of what you paid, and then they say I'm not paying it and send them back to us. So that costs us money. Yeah. And like the picking and the packing and the shipping and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's by giving the customer the information at the start of their journey, they can decide whether it's worth it. So A, it will cost us less money, and B, we might convert more people, you know. So rather than converting 0, we'll convert more. And that's for every country in the world that we send to. We have a big issue with Canada as well, because they have high customs duties. So that should help with that.
It's a very low threshold, isn't it, Canada? It's very low.
30 quid.
Sorry, mate, is it 30 quid? Yeah, and anything over? Yeah, no, exactly. So it's
nothing, like nothing. Whereas America's about $800, so it's quite a lot.
Yeah. And how are you finding these international orders with returns? You know, how are you managing? Do you have a lot? I mean, your footwear business, you'd have a lot of returns, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. It's a bit of a pain. But if you think about the customer journey and about what's keeping them happy, if they know at every point, can they get it easily? Will it be there within, you know, a couple of days? Will it be there quickly? Do they have to pay any duty? It's all up front. You know, we're just being transparent about that journey.
Yeah, the transparency is key, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then if they have to return it, then they can do so easily, even if they have to pay a contribution, or even if they have to pay, it will be cheaper than what they could do locally. So we're saving them money anyway. So the Globally, like, fingers crossed that it's going to help with our conversions, but we'll see. The proof will be in the pudding. But at least it's a fairly low risk and cost effective way of like increasing international sales. Personally, it's much cheaper than setting up a full warehouse like in another country.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of businesses are doing that too early, where they're trying to separate stock, because there's a massive opportunity cost to doing that. And I think unless you can do something like get your Portuguese manufacturer to hold the stock and fulfill for you, or something like that, you know, and then slowly send it out to yourself in the UK, or that sort of more efficient approach, it's very difficult. I've been part of a brand that wanted 3 different solutions, and even people like Mr. Porter, retailer, have 4 different hubs, and the cost between shipping everything to all of them is really, really difficult. So no, I think you're doing exactly the right thing there. One thing I saw on your website I thought was really good was your loyalty program. Would you be able to share who powers that for you?
Yeah, so it's called GrowWave.
GrowWave, it looks great. I really like the idea that it's not just about spending, it's about, you know, the community angle that you mentioned at the start about, you know, following and being part of the newsletter and all that side of it. So
yeah, GrowWave is brilliant. Highly recommend it, because not only does it do loyalty, but they can also do like wish lists and reviews through it as well. So it does everything. It's just one program in one, and they're always updating it all the time with new stuff. So yeah, and the loyalty program does it really works. I don't know. I can't say for certain whether it makes people spend more, but it makes our customers feel like they're getting something back from us. And that's important. You know, I want the customers to feel like they're part of our family, and a loyalty program really, like, it helps kind of solidify that family feeling, that community feeling, when you're getting rewarded just for, you know, treating yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. Would you mind if we finish the podcast with some quick fire questions for you? Is
So
that
let's
right?
do it.
Perfect. So this one works perfectly. So is the focus for Calla at the moment customer loyalty or customer acquisition, in terms of, are you focused more on the customers you've got, or obtaining new customers?
At the moment, we're focusing on obtaining new ones, because I think we're already pretty good at the loyalty side.
I can see that online. It's great.
We have a very good returning customer rate, and our customer service responses are always, you know, really, really good. I'd sooner spend a bit more acquiring my first customer and keeping them happy, because then they'll stay with me for, you know, for life. So the biggest issue for any business is finding new customers. So that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the most effective channel at the moment, and testing different ones.
No, perfect, definitely. And is there any person or resource or podcast or anything that you're really keen on that you'd recommend to other small business owners in the e-commerce space?
I am not really a podcast listener, which is terrible because I'm on this. But when I first started the business, there's a few websites that I use. I use something called Growth Hackers. You heard of that?
No, I haven't actually.
It's a website. It's quite tech, but there are some bits on there that you can pull out, that, you know, around Pinterest and stuff like that. So Growth Hackers, and it's just random people that have tested stuff and then shared their results. Brian Dean is, like, from an SEO point of view, I just love him. I think he's brilliant, and he does loads and loads of free YouTube tutorial type stuff, and his website as well, because they're getting you your visitors, your free customers. There's another app that I'm using called Triple Whale, and Triple Whale send really good emails with some really insightful stuff, like, for free. SEMrush as well, it's brilliant, and they send good emails as well. But I would recommend it, when, especially before pre-launch, try and at least read 1 or 2 articles a day on how to grow your business, because when you're growing your business, you don't have time to do that, so you may as well try and get all that knowledge in beforehand. It's so annoying is when you've got your own business, you just can't do it all. And, like, last night between 3 and 4 o'clock this morning, I was just thinking of stuff, because you just have ideas, and then what happens is you end up doing things like payroll and, you know, and stuff like VAT or whatever, and then you don't actually always get to do it all. So I'm trying to prioritize. I think that's the thing, and also trying to get my agencies to work better for me as well. Numbers is not my thing, right, at all. I'm okay at it. I do not like pivot tables and spreadsheets, really, and I'd sooner pay somebody else to do that for me. And that's one of the things I've just done recently. I've just employed this lad, but he loves the pivot table, and he's doing, like, all my deep digging analysis for me. I mean, that's another thing I could talk about all day. It's so important. But if you can't do that analysis, you need to find someone who can. But he can do it all, like all my analytics. He's just gone into my Google Ads. He's going to do, like, product forecasting to make sure I'm buying the right quantities for growth. Like, all of that is amazing.
It's important to not try and do things that I think there's this misconception when you own a business where it's like, you should be prepared to do everything, and it's like, no, actually, like, you should do what you're really good at and get other people to do what they're really good at as well, because you know, you can't be good at everything, you can't be into everything, you can't be excited about everything. And
do you know what? I'm not even that good at anything, I'd say. I always say that about, like, my life. I'm quite good at a lot of things, but I'm not dead good at anything.
What you are dead good at is getting amazing PR for Calla. Bloody hell, there's so many good articles.
I don't know if I am dead good at it. I am quite good at it.
All sorts of, like, nationwide publications. Amazing.
It's not that hard either. There's a hack. There's hashtag journal request on Twitter. The only thing is, you've got to be on it every bloody day, because when the journal request comes out saying we are looking for, you've got to be the first to reply. That's the problem. So you have to be on it. And I used to have an intern who just checked it for me every day, and she just sent me the requests as they came through, if they were relevant. The other one is a Facebook group called Lightbulb something, and it's £5 a month. You can only join it if you're an entrepreneur or press. She knows, that woman who runs it, she knows if your agency, she'll check. She's done all out. But if you're an entrepreneur, you can go in there, and you'll get people saying, we're looking for, you know, a woman that's 40 plus years old, started her own business, like that. So and then you can get on it. So that's how I've got almost all my PR. I've done a bit through PR agencies, but what I found is that they cost a lot of money, and you don't really get the right coverage. that gives you the sales. But I could get so much more, I think. I've not had any PR for ages, actually. You make me feel a bit sad.
What would you expect to get sales-wise from something like that? Like, how many pairs of shoes would you like to sell?
Well, Daily Mail, when I was in that in 2017, was the biggest spike in traffic I think I've ever had. I literally had 10,000 visitors in one day.
Amazing, yeah. So it really does work.
And I sold out of all the shoes that I had.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't have many at the time. I'd only just launched, but it meant that I couldn't sell anything for like 3 months because I had no stock.
Good problem to have, though, I suppose.
What I do is I send out a survey every year to my customers, asking them how. It's a brand survey, but one of the questions is, how did you find out about us? And last year, but we do get, like, it's about 20% of our customers through PR reading about us.
No, definitely. And favourite shoe sold by Calla? What's your favourite at the moment?
Well, I have two, and I have to have two because I've got 2 daughters, and the 2 shoes are named after them.
Lovely, that's lovely.
So the Charlotte ballet flats, which I was never going to have a flat, I wanted heels only, but my customer insight surveys told me I needed flats, so that's Charlotte, my eldest daughter. And then Emily is my high heel that I would have worn for my wedding if I had them at the time, and that's my other daughter.
Perfect. So you've got both ends of the world covered there. Brilliant. And working from home, working from the office, or a mix of both? What's your favourite thing to do?
I do a mix of both. Work from home, and then I use a co-working space in Manchester so that the team members that are local, because I have one who's just travelling and being a digital nomad at the moment and still working for me. She's in Croatia at the moment.
Sounds lovely.
So I know, yeah, but I like that. I don't. My business doesn't. Because it's e-commerce, we can work from anywhere, and I think that being able to have that flexibility in your day is important for kind of well-being, and COVID kind of just made that more obvious, like, to people that working from home. It just gives you that kind of, I don't know, it just makes you feel, I think it makes you feel better. But I also think getting out there and meeting people is important for your mental health and for networking and stuff. So we try and meet up once a week in Manchester.
Oh, perfect. And lastly, you've touched on it a bit, but have you got any exciting news to share or anything that you're working on with Calla that you're looking forward to getting out, for Christmas 2022 and into 2023?
Well, yeah. So, like I said, this positioning is really important to me, to be known as a fashion brand, which is what I really want us to be known as, and women to like feel like they're kind of strutting their stuff in this nice fashion brand, and people going, oh, where'd you get shoes from? I love them. So in order to do that, we're having a rebrand, basically, which will be launched in conjunction with Spring Summer 23. So that's going to be a kind of a new look and feel to go with our new look and feel shoes. So we've still got the staples, but where some of our shoes are going to be real, like, wow, showstopper shoes that are pushing us on the fashion side a lot more. Like, the way I think about it, the shoes that could be in the pages of Vogue, that's kind of brief. And then on the innovation side, we've got a really exciting innovation in our shoes that I'm working with a lady at Staffordshire University on. And that is properly exciting, but that's hush hush because I don't know anyone to know about it. So that's hopefully launching around the same time, if we can, because it's so new, and I'm like, yeah, 6 months it'll be launched. It probably won't, but that's, sometime next year that'll be launched as well. So I'm trying to push the business forward constantly through like fashion and through innovation, which are like my 2 key, reasons why I started the business.
That's amazing. That's brilliant that you can develop on what you're already doing. I think it's pretty obvious that we could talk all day about everything to do with business and shoes, but I think if we can wrap it up, that would be fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'd love to get you on again, actually. There's so much knowledge there that I think we haven't even gone anywhere near. But thank you so much today. Thanks for your time. And if the listeners could just take time to give us a follow, give us a like at Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and look out for other amazing guests like Jenni. It'd be really, really great to see you all in the coming weeks. So thanks so much, Jenni. Thanks for your time. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks for listening to this episode. You can subscribe to the Sorted Indie Retail Sessions podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other platforms. If you fancy joining us as a guest, or you think you know someone you'd like to hear in an upcoming episode, get in touch with us and let us know. We're on all the usual social channels at Sorted Official, or get in touch via email at brand@sorted.com.